Don in London, hello. It's February 10th, 2010. My video's all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. And my addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, just the same in many respects. So, alcoholic, and then behaviour, work, relationships, collecting, materialism, trying to look right, putting on a brave face, ego, very brittle, very thin, and nothing much underneath it, no self-esteem to talk about during those drinking years, mainly because I never really understood how to live life and face what was going on in a practical way, because underneath all of that was a fear of not being good enough, a fear of being less than. And I recall very distinctly that I worked for a boss who was not a very ideal boss, and he was always concerned about how things would show up to other people, and it drove me into a place of absolute despair, because if we're always wondering how it will show up to other people, we undermine our confidence before we even start, rather than say to ourselves, I need to be confident about what I'm doing because it's the right thing to do. And how do I know that? Simply by checking it out with other people these days, rather than relying on what I thought was me against the world. And that's where drink took me. So drink did start off convivial, work started off convivial, and for a lot of years it was very good, and I worked extremely hard, but it was always about perfection. And when we're striving for perfection, we not only set a very high standard for ourselves, but we also set a high standard for those around us, and completely unachievable or not achievable. So these days it's about progress and not perfection. But this thing of how it will show up to other people and the obsession of trying to do it on our own is the real problem when we're trying to get out of any sort of substance addiction or behavioural addiction. We go to the place of obsession, where self-will is where we feel we ought to be. We ought to be able to sort ourselves out, and it becomes self-obsession. And when it's a difference between understanding life in a balance and obsession to be right and to be good enough, then we find ourselves in difficult circumstances. And often in early life, when we're forming relationships with people, and especially if we're trying to form a relationship with a partner, and she is not as interested, or she might be as interested, but we come across as completely obsessed by trying to be perfect and do everything we can to make them like us. We're overwhelming, and we try control, and it's control which kills love more than anything. So if we do love somebody and we find ourselves heading towards obsession, well, we're heading for disaster, most likely. And that's the same with anything to do with life. If we have balance, we're probably okay. Take it or leave it. And I don't mean that in a nasty sense or an unpleasant sense, but when either we're in and we're part of, or we're not in and we're not wanted. So sometimes it's a good idea to know when it's time to pack your bags and go. And that applies to work, relationships, people, places, things, where we hang on for too long trying to do the same old thing. And that's what drink did for me. It put me in the place of obsession and wanting to get back to a life I used to have. So I was determined to do it on my own. And this month, in the Fellowship of AA and also the literature, the daily reflections, it's all about step 2 for me, which is came to believe a higher power could restore me to sanity. And what we understand by higher power is what we come to understand. It's a personal understanding, whether it be God or a fellowship or a doctor or whatever it happens to be, some source which is a higher power than us, where we can get wisdom about how to keep sober, is absolutely essential, because we're opening ourselves up to changing our own attitude and behaviour and getting away from the obsession of trying to do it ourselves. And the trouble is, with any form of addiction, it is self-harm. And once we're in that place of self-harm, sorting it out on our own We keep on going back to the same old thing, hoping it would change, or we keep on going back to the same old thing because it offers oblivion and offers some sort of sanctuary from real life. And the gift of living is to be able to live life for real. So it's difficult. It's difficult to be a human being. So these days I do have a higher power in my life, and I choose to call it God. And my understanding of God is very simple. But it's not a definition, because there are 6.5 billion people on the planet, and everybody has an understanding of what is God. Either there is one, there isn't one, but we all know we're not one, hopefully, or our ego is going out of control into obsession. So for me, God is truth, God is love. God works through people. So love, working with and through people. So if I'm able to listen and not in the obsession, and break out of the insanity, and just start to be restored one day at a time. And restoration is a daily business. It doesn't just stop right and restored. It's an ongoing process, as is life, as is spiritual living. It's in the day, in the moment. It never stays the same. And we're never bigger or smaller in our spiritual outlook than anybody else. It's just different, because everything is spiritual in reality. So there we go, just how I am today. And you know, you need your own understanding of these things, and we come to understand what is right for us to understand, our own wisdom as we go. And it's not for me or anyone to ever suggest what is another person's belief or faith or living outlook. We just come to learn what is good for us. So all that, and the fellowship of AA, well, fellowship of AA, I lean on fellowship, make sure I keep sober one day at a time, and then life seems to work. Whatever is possible is possible. So what is AA? Here is the statement of intent, and then just briefly a reading from the daily reflections, which is all about this step 2, being restored to sanity and having a higher power in our lives. So Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. In other words, it's on its own. Does not wish to engage in any controversy. Is not interested in anything else but sobriety. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So we're all about sharing a message of experience, strength and hope wherever we can and however we can do it, and whatever appears to be appropriate for ourselves. And long may it be so, because that's not a requirement of fellowship. Anyway, the daily reflections today, February 10th, I don't run the show. When we became alcoholics, crushed by a self-imposed crisis we could not postpone or evade, we had to fearlessly face the proposition that either God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What was our choice to be? And this is a personal choice, and higher power is a personal choice. Today my choice is God. He is everything. For this I am truly grateful. When I think I am running the show, I am blocking God from my life, and for me I am blocking the truth, blocking people and blocking love. I pray I can remember this when I allow myself to get caught up into self. The most important thing that today is that today I'm willing to grow along spiritual lines, live in the moment and now, and that God is everything, God is truth. When I was trying to quit drinking on my own, it never worked. With God and AA, it is working. This seems to be a simple thought for a complicated alcoholic. And my goodness, was I a complicated one. But whether it's AA or something else, as long as you have a higher power where you're getting wisdom from to change attitude and behaviour, you're in with a chance. So the Serenity Prayer, as I say at the end of these videos, to God or good conscience or whatever it is that you understand. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today.